to the rest of your viewing. Good evening.
Well, it has been about 2 weeks of sustained attacks from the president against the judiciary, the third arm and one of the three arms of government. And of course, today we're going to delve into the discussions that have been coming up with the president and the CJ calling for ceasefire and of course having dialogue. And today we're joined by seasoned lawyer and of course with about 60 years of experience, Senior Counsel Dr. John Khaminwa. Thank you so much, Wakili, for your time. We really appreciate for you to share with us and, of course, give us your views about what we are seeing. First of all, do you think what the president is doing and what the CJ is doing to try and dialogue, do you think that is the way to go for the judiciary?
What the president is doing with respect to him is absolutely wrong. You cannot attack the judiciary the way he's doing in public at all. Judiciary is an important, sensitive arm of the government, and it should be handled in a very tactical manner. If there is anything going on that is wrong in the judiciary, the president can raise the matter with the Judicial Service Commission confidentially. He has an Attorney General who can also discuss the matter with the Judicial Service Commission confidentially. But I'm not sure that it's appropriate for the president to make it an issue publicly at all. The judiciary enjoys a national status under the Constitution, but the judiciary also enjoys an international status under the Constitution. The 1985 General Assembly resolution makes it very, very clear that the courts must remain independent. They must not be directed or be seen to be directed by the executive at all. This is a United Nations resolution, an important resolution that was passed in 1985 by the General Assembly. So the international community keeps an eye on the judiciary of every country, the way it is being handled. Now, if the international community gets the impression that the judicial system in Kenya is no longer independent, it is most unfortunate for us. We may find that in commercial agreements, the investors are insisting that the Kenyan courts should not have anything to do with any disagreements at all. Things should be heard in New York or should be heard in Paris and etc. So I may say that it's unfortunate that the president should be making the suggestions or the pronouncements that he's making. He has an able Attorney General with tremendous experience who has worked as a resident magistrate, and he has been in public affairs for a long time. He's a respected Attorney General. If he has any problem, let him discuss it with his Attorney General. Okay. And the Attorney General will know how he can handle it. Perhaps there's something else I may point out to you, just to fortify the point I'm trying to make to you. Immediately after independence, when Mzee Jomo Kenyatta was the president of the country, the late Honorable Tom Mboya was the Minister for Constitutional Affairs, and Sir John Henley, an Englishman, was then the Chief Justice. Now, Tom Mboya was not happy about the way a certain matter was being handled by judiciary at all. And I recall very vividly that Tom Mboya wanted to meet the Chief Justice to discuss that issue. Sir John Henley refused. As a matter of fact, rebuked him. He says that they would be sending the wrong signals, the wrong perception, the wrong impression to the members of the public that the judiciary is being compromised. And that's precisely what's going to happen in the current case. For a Chief Justice to meet the President to discuss matters that are before the courts, that will be misunderstood by the Kenyans. they will begin to lose confidence in the courts. They will think that the courts are now being controlled by the president. And that's not good for the country at all.
Okay. But don't you think we need to discuss, to have dialogue and talk about the issues that he has raised? The president has been on record saying that there are some judicial officers who are corrupt. Recently, the Chief Justice actually gave a list of some of the officers who are suspended, others facing disciplinary action. Don't you think there needs to be a way to talk?
There's no need for talking at all. All that the president needs to do is to hand this information to his Attorney General, or he can hand the information to the Inspector General or the Director of Criminal Investigation, and this matter can then be handed to Judicial Service Commission or to the Chief Justice herself, and the matter will then be investigated. There is no need for a talk between the Chief Justice and His Excellency the President. There's absolutely no need at all. Yeah. As one MP put it very rightly, when she said that let the President leave the judges alone, this matter can be handled in another manner.
So the president, what you're saying is the president should follow the due process that is laid down to handle this.
Precisely. The president is supposed to be upholding the Constitution. Currently, he's not doing so. I may remind you of something. I hope I'm not wrong. There was an offense in our penal code during the colonial days, and I think it is still there. I may be wrong. I haven't checked up with in the penal code at all. Scandalizing the judiciary. That is an offense. Scandalizing the judiciary can be an offense. You may find that an advocate now is making an application in court that the president should be impeached for interfering with the judiciary.
Okay. And don't you, the president mentioned that there are people who are corrupt in the judiciary. They even gave an example.
Yes.
Do you think there are some corrupt individuals in the judiciary yourself? Have you met any of those, any officers or judges that you think are corrupt?
Yeah, can I be very honest to you? For the years I've been in the judiciary, no single judge has ever asked me for a bribe. No single magistrate has ever asked me for a bribe.
You're also a magistrate?
No magistrate has ever asked me for a bribe. No judicial officer has ever asked me for a bribe. For all these years that I've been in the judiciary, I've been in the legal profession. But that does not necessarily mean that there may not be some corruption in the judiciary. The point I'm making to you is that if there is any evidence that anyone has against any of the judicial officers, let him hand that evidence to the Judicial Service Commission.
That's all.
Let us not forget that some of our best legal minds are to be found in the judiciary. They are to be found in the Judicial Service Commission. And these legal minds, or these judicial minds, will then investigate the issues or the alleged offenses, and if necessary, they will take action. They will make sure that they hand the appropriate reports to the president, and the president can set up the tribunals.
Okay.
But let the president leave the judiciary alone. Let him not be seen as being actively interfering in the affairs of the judiciary at all. That's what's happening at the moment.
Okay.
Yes. Now, the judges have delivered judgments. They have delivered rulings against the president. Let the president get his own attorney general to appeal. If the attorney general thinks there is merit, he will then file the appeals in court. He has very able legal officers.
The attorney general is actually part of JSC.
Who?
The attorney general is part of JSC.
The attorney general is part of the JSC. The chief justice is part of the JSC. Now, let the president not be seen to be interfering with the judiciary. And if you read legal literature, members of the executives do not talk against the judges. Judges are respected individuals. In fact, there used to be a saying that judges are officers who have been sent by God to govern. There used to be that kind of talk. Judges are to be seen as independent people. Let them be seen to be independent, to be exercising the powers of judges,
okay,
but not to be seen as being part of the executive. or being in bed with the executive at all.
Wakili, you have been around for quite a long time.
Yes.
Have you seen an instance with the other CJs who've served there before who had to talk with the president?
Absolutely no. It is never done. That is never done at all. Nowhere. I may tell you there was one president of the Court of Appeal who probably, in my view, has been one of the best judges that Kenya has had. He was the president of the Court of Appeal for East Africa, Sir Charles Newbold. When Sir Charles Newbold was living, I remember very well a ceremony was held for him in the court. And late Charles Njonjo was then the Honorable Attorney General, had to address him. The president of the Law Society, or the chairman of the Law Society at that time, had also to address him. And the president of the Court of Appeal, then Sir Charles Newbold, had also to address the audience. And I remember him saying one thing in favor of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. He said for all the time he had sat in Kenya, and Mzee Jomo Kenyatta had been a president of the Republic of Kenya, at no stage did he ever get any impression that the judicial process was being interfered with by the president. That was a very good compliment. That was a very good compliment.
So no president since independence has had a sit down with the judiciary?
No. Mzee Jomo Kenyatta never did it. Moi never did it. There was an exception of one case, I think, when some bodies had to be exhumed in the Rift Valley, where there was some little talk, but there was no evidence at all. So that although Daniel Arap Moi is accused of some human rights violations, one cannot say that he ever went out to interfere with the judicial process at all. James Karugu was then the Attorney General, and I recall very well, there's no time when anybody ever said that Mzee Daniel Arap Moi was interfering with the judiciary. Mzee Mwai Kibaki never interfered with the judiciary at all. The recent president, Uhuru Kenyatta, as far as I can remember, the only area of disagreement was not complying with the court orders. But at no stage did someone say that he was trying to interfere with the judiciary to get decisions or to get audience at all. Yes. With tremendous respect to our president, he is opening a dangerous chapter in the judicial and legal history of the country. After his departure, or when he ceases to be a president, these could become issues, and he could find that there are some individuals who are now want to press that this matter should again be looked at by the courts. Let us avoid that kind of situation.
The president is out of order.
Yes, the president, with respect, is out of order. What he is doing with respect is wrong.
Okay. So, Wakili, we've had the National Dialogue Committee discussing the national issues. Why can't we extend this discussion to even the courts? Because they're also here to serve us. They do public participation.
To serve the
people.
What is it really what you discuss? What do you want us to discuss?
Corruption in the judiciary.
Which one? But I've just told you, if there's anybody who has got evidence, as the Chief Justice properly put it recently, let him hand the evidence to the Judicial Service Commission. What is it to be discussed? There's nothing. Perhaps let me elaborate on something else that you may not be aware of. If an advocate presenting a case in court gets what you can call credible evidence that a judicial officer, that's a magistrate, or a judge has received a bribe, he can tell him or her that, Your Honor, let us adjourn this matter briefly to your chambers. The magistrate or the judge will readily agree to go to the chambers to discuss something. Now, upon arrival in the chambers, the advocate can tell the magistrate or the judge that, Your Honor, I have evidence that you have been compromised, and you should now disqualify yourself from this case. You understand me? Yes, sir. You shouldn't cease to act in this matter. Now, if the magistrate insists that he wants to continue, or the judge insists that he wants to continue to handle the case, the advocate will tell him that I would now go out and make a relevant report or appropriate report to the Judicial Service Commission. Is that not fair? There is another way which the late Madden adopted. Madden was the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. I believe he was the first Kenyan to be Chief Justice of Kenya. Very much respected. He had tremendous experience in law. Now, if he received evidence that a magistrate or a judge was being suspected of corruption, he would investigate the alleged incident on his own. And if he got evidence that indeed the judge was corrupt or the magistrate was corrupt, he will summon the magistrate or the judge to his chambers and produce the evidence, show him or her, and say to him that, look, resign. Alternatively, I'm going out to constitute a tribunal to look into the allegation.
Okay. So, Wakili, looking at other countries, other developed countries, say the US and the UK, has this trend ever happened that we are having the president attacking the judiciary and at the end of the day calling for dialogue? Have you seen this up?
No, I haven't seen it. I haven't heard of it at all. And may I say it would be completely wrong for the Chief Justice to say to the president that they're discussing what is going on in the judiciary on allegations of corruption. Because inevitably, this will mean that they have to discuss also the cases, the outcome, and so on. If the president has got evidence that there are corrupt judges or there are corrupt magistrates, let him handle the evidence to the Judicial Service Commission. But let him not call for a discussion or a dialogue, because members of the public will begin to suspect that there is something wrong. They will lose confidence in the judiciary, and they will lose confidence in this important arm of the government. Okay. By the way, may I also point out that some of the state officers in government are talking a little bit recklessly against the judiciary. They should appreciate, again, I repeat to you, that the judiciary is a very sensitive arm of the government, and they should not just throw words around at all. If they have anything against the judges and magistrates, let them follow the procedure that is laid down in the Constitution and the statutory provisions.
Okay. The president has also said that he will not obey court orders that are given by quote-unquote corrupt judges. What is the effect, the net effect of this statement?
Again, with respect, that is wrong. He should not say so at all. Let him obey the judges, the orders that have been made by the court. And if he has got evidence, let him then say so in the courtroom. Let him then say so in the Judicial Service Commission. But for him to say that he's not going to obey the court orders, that's most unfortunate. Perhaps I should mention to you that in any court and at any stage when a judge is hearing a case and he delivers a judgment or a ruling, one party is bound to lose. And the party that loses is likely to make certain allegations against the judge or against the magistrate. It is necessary that those allegations should be investigated very, very carefully. But it would be wrong for one to proceed to do things just because of what you have been told by one of the parties in the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do we correct the challenges that we are seeing in the judiciary? Because as you have already alluded to it, is that there could be some characters or some judges that may not be in line with the Constitution.
Understand me properly. All that I'm saying is this. Understand me very properly. If there is any evidence against any of the judges, let that evidence be handled the Judicial Service Commission. I'm not telling you that there are corrupt judges or the corrupt magistrates. All that I'm saying is that if anyone has got any evidence against the judges or the magistrates, let him hand over the evidence to the Judicial Service Commission or the Chief Justice for investigation.
Okay. So because they have already talked and agreed that they will have a discussion, they've already said that they will talk anyway, what should they talk about?
That's exactly what I don't know. I don't know what they will talk about.
What should they not talk about?
Again, that, the judiciary, I don't see why the president should meet the Chief Justice or the Chief Justice should meet the CJ. Let me tell you something that I read in one of the books. If you find a Chief Justice who is friendly to the executive, one should begin to be very suspicious that there's something wrong. If you find an executive who is very friendly to the judiciary, one should also come to the conclusion that there's something wrong.
But they're supposed to work together.
Listen, I'm an advocate for the High Court of Kenya. I appear in courts very, very frequently. I never meet these judges privately. You understand me? I don't go to their homes. They don't come to my home. Each person maintains his own role. We may meet officially at a function, but I cannot tell you that I've got a very close relationship with Judge so-and-so or a very close relationship with the magistrate so-and-so. We sit down and eat and talk and what and so on. No. The same with the Attorney General, the same with the President. The President has got his own role to play. The Attorney General has got his own role to play. The Chief Justice has got his own role to play. The Chief Justice and the President are not supposed to be meeting, discussing how things are to be done at all. There's something wrong with that. People become very suspicious. And in my view, let the meeting be cancelled.
None at all.
I'm saying let the meeting be cancelled. There's nothing to be discussed. Let the meeting be discussed. The President has got his own role to play under the Constitution. He knows it very well. The CJ has got her own role to play under the Constitution. She knows very well. Why are they to meet? The Attorney General could meet the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice could meet the Attorney General. I could probably make an appointment to meet the Chief Justice on some point. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not sure that a Chief Executive should be making arrangements to meet the Chief Justice, and the Chief Justice should be making arrangements to meet the Chief Executive. There's something wrong. People are bound to become very suspicious. They will think that there's something, these people, there's no longer rule of law, there's no longer separation of powers and so on. And I wish to emphasize to you, judiciary is a very sensitive arm of government. It's not an ordinary arm of government at all. It's a very, very sensitive arm of government. And it's easy for people to misunderstand it. It is easy for people to come to the conclusion that we no longer have an independent judiciary. Let the meeting between the President and the Chief Justice be cancelled.
Okay. Your parting shot as we wind it up. Your advice to Kenyans, to the President, to the CJ, the last.
Let them cancel the meeting. Let the President continue to perform his role under the Constitution. The same with the Chief Justice. But there's no need for them to meet and eat together that they are now discussing the matters in the judiciary. That's completely wrong.
That's the end of it.
Yeah, that's the end of it and so on. Let me tell you something from my own experience. I recall one day I appeared before the High Court. I think it was the Court of Appeal, yes. I appeared in the Court of Appeal in Uganda. And then President of Court of Appeal, Sir Charles Newport, was presiding over the Court of Appeal. And during those days, we finished the hearings in Kampala, and all of us rushed to the airport at Entebbe to catch an aircraft leaving for Nairobi. Upon arrival at Entebbe, the East African plane was about to leave for Nairobi. And it was just taxiing off. I can't remember the name of the minister, but I recall there was a Ugandan cabinet minister who was around. And I remember Sir Charles Newport calling this minister loudly and told him that, look, so-and-so, would you rush and stop that plane? You understand me? The minister complied. Indeed, he started running and stopped the plane not to take off at all. I'm mentioning it to you to show you, to demonstrate to you the respect people had for judges. Judges are respected. They are not demeaned at all. This does not mean that, necessarily mean that as individuals, they are wonderful people. This respect is handed to them for the good of society, for the good of the community, so that we have got law and order, so that people have to obey court orders. Whether they are right or they are wrong, they obey them, and they can always question later on. We have to respect our judges. We have to respect our magistrates. They may be young. They may be lacking in experience. They may not be wealthy. But for the good of the Kenyan society, we have to extend to them respect so that there is law and order in the country, so that there is no chaos in the country.
That's the alternative if we don't follow.
Yeah, if we don't follow them, there can be chaos in the country. And that's precisely what we do not want at all. In other words, the judiciary has always been seen in Kenya to be the pillar of the unity, to be the pillar of peace, to be the pillar of the rule of law in the country. And many of our people, very fortunately these days when you're talking to them, they will say that, oh, so-and-so, come out. Don't play around with me. If you do, I'll take you to the court. I'll take you to the judges. Keep like that. I remember the other time you spat at me. I'm going to make sure that a magistrate deals with you. I'll take you to court. That is healthy for the country. We do not want to hear that individuals are now behaving in a manner that is contrary to the law at all. We want the rule of law in the country. And the utterances or the statements that you are receiving from the Chief Justice are inimical of peace and the rule of law in the country.
Well, I thank you very much. That has been Senior Counsel Dr. John Khaminwa giving his insights about the dialogue and the talks that have been set up between the President and, of course, the head of the Judiciary, Chief Justice Martha Koome. And he says that meeting should not take off. It should not happen. My name is Emmanuel To. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.